next up are a pair of speakers. We have Emiliano Neirotti from TARMAC. He's a consulting associate there. And we also have Rodrigo Rioseco from Viva Air. To introduce Emiliano, he's an economist with a master's degree in finance. He has over 7 years of experience in airline revenue management. He has held senior management positions in regional market RM for Aerolíneas Argentinas.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Rodrigo, who is currently in charge of revenue management, pricing, and ancillaries at Viva Air. We have a real airline practitioner in our midst, which is great. He's an economist with over 10 years of experience in the airline RM world. He's previously held positions at Sky Airlines, where he was the head of RM and pricing. And he's also been in charge of the international markets at LATAM Airlines. So, gentlemen, we welcome you to the floor, and let's hear all about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. So the idea of this segment is to share with you the experience we had implementing alternative processes and alternative data once the operations were resumed in the Colombian market last year. First of all, I would like to introduce TARMAC. TARMAC is a consultancy services provider focused mainly on revenue management and prices and pricing. And in this slide, what we are showing is the 4 pillars in which we believe the best revenue management practices should be based. So we are seeing there we have people, processes, information, and technology. Technology is about the revenue management system, but of course, to succeed, you have to have a good revenue management system, but you have to have also a good revenue management team. You have to have clear processes and a clear agenda for the revenue management team. And it is important to have good information to feed the revenue management system and for the revenue management team to take the right decisions.
Okay, hey everybody. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what's Viva Air, so everybody can get a sense on the size of these airlines, because it's a pretty standard airline. We started it 9 years ago, 8 years ago, as an ultra low-cost carrier here in the region. We were the first one in South America to actually be launched as a low-cost carrier. This airline was created by Arlandia Aviation. Obviously, they have quite a long history. Their before investment was Viva Aerobus there in Mexico, and they decided to come into Colombia and create this first low cost into the region. Here we have 2 major competitors right now, which both are legacy or full service carrier. One is Avianca with over 100 years experience, and well, LATAM, which is the other monster here in the region. So it was not an easy decision. It was an obvious one, but not an easy one. And today, Viva Air, a couple of years ago, or before the pandemic, we just bought 50 new aircraft. From those, 35 are the 320s NEOs and 15 are the 320 CEOs. So obviously, it's a huge impact. Today, we have over 20 planes. There are 50 more coming. This year, we're receiving 6 of those. So you can imagine how we are fighting and challenging every team and every decision that we take, because we're over doubling our size in the pandemic. So it's a huge challenge right now, but it's a 50 aircraft, 60 aircraft airline here in the region. So it's a big one. It's a most standard low cost for everybody in the world. So what have we done? We're transporting over 6 million passengers, and we have over 40,000 flights. That was obviously before pandemic. So that's to give you a sense on what Viva Air right now and what it means into the region. If you can pass to the next one, please. So just a few more details. When we started just in Colombia. Today we're flying Colombia and Peru, both countries, both domestically and international routes. We started with 4 planes, O Classic 320s right now. Today we have 24 plus the 6 coming this year. So we're gonna end up the year with 30 aircraft. The first year of operation, we moved or we transferred 500,000 passengers. We have transport over 26 million passengers in these 8 years of the company. So it has been a huge and exponential growth in the market right now. We started with only 8 routes, obviously none of them with daily frequency. Right now we have 38 routes in the region, and obviously we have more density in our schedule. If you can pass one, please. And to give you a sense, this is our network, or it has been, it's pretty much the same. So we have over 11 routes in Peru, 4 international routes right now, and more than 21 or 22 routes in the domestic Colombia. As I said, with the new 50 aircraft, 35 of them are neos. So our growth or our expectation is to grow internationally and start making a less domestic airline and start being a more international. And that's quite a challenge with all the legacies that are here. There's not only Avianca and LATAM, also Copa is one of the main carriers that will do the same kind of international routes. So that's a summary of what is Viva right now in the region in South America.
Emiliano, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you, Rodrigo. What we are showing here is a flow that may represent most of the airline situations once COVID took place last year. So the first thing we know is that after pandemic and restrictions, the demand dropped down and the revenue reduced to almost zero for most airlines. And so some airlines decided to cut salaries or to reduce the headcount. In some cases here in the region, what we saw was that the employees, under this uncertain situation, decided to move from the airline industries to some other industries. So many revenue management teams were reduced. And what happens, what could happen to the airlines is that once the operations are resumed, maybe the demand recovers, maybe, but if you don't have, as we were talking before, one of the pillars, which is the people, if you don't have the correct team to face that situation, maybe the revenues are not going to recover as fast as the demand. So this is just an introduction for you to explain why Viva decided to go into a BPO revenue management with TARMAC. And let's please, Rodrigo, tell something about the context where Viva was in September when we began working together.
Okay, so going back, I don't know, to give you a sense, Colombia shut down the industry in March, the middle of March. We restarted operation in September, so it was a huge and a very extensive 6 months of a shutdown. There was no operational approved by the government. And when we started it, obviously we were told, I don't know, 25 of August, we can start operating September 1st. So every company just went crazy and just started making promotional and put the schedule. Everybody thought it was a very little schedule for everybody, but it was the restart and we were quite happy about it. What happened through the pandemic? We lost 80% of our revenue management team. We used to be 6 analysts. We had only 1 at the time when the operation restarted. The guy who stayed, or our analyst, he had 3 months in the company, was his first job. we didn't work, obviously, or he didn't manage flights for 6 months, and then he has to handle the whole network restart operation with every data that we have, every statistic that we can had to try to see how the market was going to go. Obviously, it was wrong. We didn't know what to expect, so we were very afraid. I was very afraid of what's going to be happening to the market. We didn't have a standardized process in every health check of our. We use RM in every health check, or I think that's a very common thing in every team. People or analysts trying to get their own way of making things, and it's very hard to make a standard of how things should be done in the system, because there's always some analysts that will go in a different way. So that was a huge impact or a huge thing that we were challenged to do. Here in Colombia, it has been crazy, the dynamic of market. September didn't anticipate at all. People were buying for the very next day. Suddenly in October, people start anticipating and start buying. Our high season goes from 15th of December to the 15th of January. And they got, and they start filling every plane. Actually, tour operators start making reservation, and we suddenly had 20, 30, 40, and in a couple of days we were booked for the high season of 50%, 40%, something like that. So we got scared. I'm talking about only 4 weeks after operation. So there was a huge coordination with network planning or scheduling. We start operating. We start getting more planes and making the pilots come back again to the company. So it was dramatically dynamic markets. Actually, right now anticipation in the markets is pretty much as September. People are buying for the very next day. So every curve or every design you had in every business rule or everything you knew about the market is wrong, and it's gonna make you make wrong decisions because of what you know. You're not learning, you're trying to get whatever you learned from before. So you're most probably to make it wrong for your decisions. The pressure was very high. We needed results ASAP. Obviously, the cash flow was very weak at the time, and the game changed a little bit. It's not we used to manage or to optimize the flown revenue. Now we're managing the cash revenue. So it's very differently in a sense. You don't know when the governments, especially here in South America, they're gonna make you go into curfew again or whatever. So it's a little bit differently, and you have to make different decisions from an RM perspective than in a finance perspective. And with all this said, the 3 companies that are here were 4 airlines. The 3 others, they went into Chapter 11. So we knew they might be doing some stupid things in the market or filing some different fares for getting the cash as soon as possible as they needed. And with all this said, the network was unstable. So what was our main challenge at the point? I'm saying what was happening, and when we decide, we said we cannot manage this. It's gonna take so much time to train the analysts. It's gonna take so much time to actually hire new analysts for the team. So what we did is that we found TARMAC. It was a good solution. We knew that here in the region, it's not common from airlines from our size to actually third-party RM. We knew Emiliano and Juan, which they had experience. And what we did is that we actually passed them pretty much 90% or even 95% of our processes to them. This was an actually great thing, because not only they knew RM, they knew what to do as what we needed to do. They catch up very quickly into the market. The most challenging part here is pretty much what you guys are living in the home office system, that you need to be very coordinated. So it doesn't happen that network planning changed the network and we didn't tell the guys from Argentina or the guys from TARMAC, and they suddenly see everything in the system. So that was what's happening. I'm gonna let Emiliano tell you about the results, but those were the challenges that we were heading for, and why we decided to go into this very abnormal but very good results strategy since September.
Thank you, Rodrigo. So basically, we at the beginning of the segment, we said we were going to talk about alternative processes and alternative data. So the BPO is the alternative process we wanted to talk about, and now I'm going to explain how we implemented the revenue management strategies once we began working with Viva. So one of the main challenges we had was that the anticipation had changed a lot, as Rodrigo was saying before. So we had to change all the parameters in the system to avoid putting in risk the revenue. So what we saw was that in 2019, 50% of the bookings were done during the last 30 days before departure, and in 2020, the 75% of the bookings were done during that period. So that's what we did. We didn't take into account the historical data because it was useless, and we decided to take just the post-COVID information. We had a very little information, just 14 or 15 days of operations, but we thought it was better to consider that information and to make and to construct the parameters with that information and not with the historical data. Next, please. So even the post-COVID information was not enough, and we didn't have the chance to work at the group of markets level. So we aggregated information and we put that into the system. With that aggregated information, we defined the booking curves, and then once we put this into the system, what we saw was that a very little time later, like, I don't know, less than a month, we saw that the booking curve had changed again, and the anticipation had changed. So we had to again change all the parameters in the system, and month after month we are seeing that the anticipation is changing, and it is changing still today. So we are doing this every month after month. We are reviewing the booking curves, we are reviewing the class mix, and we are reviewing all the parameters in the system to adjust them to the present situation. So the last topic I want to talk about is about promotions. We discussed a lot about this with Rodrigo. We were not sure if under this scenario the promotions were going to stimulate or dilute. So what I think is that it depends. It depends on the market. So basically, what I think is that maybe for a market with a little demand, with a low demand, like, I don't know, maybe a corporate market, promotions are not going to stimulate. Maybe for some other markets like leisure or some beaches in the case of Colombia, where demand has recovered pretty fast, maybe the promotions will be stimulating. And what I mean is, as soon as the demand recovers, promotions seem to have the same impact they used to have before COVID. So that's what we are seeing in the market. And well, that's all. I don't know, Rodrigo, if you want to tell anything else about this topic.
Yeah, as we were saying, it was a very hard time, or it was very difficult. And actually, this is actually, you need to control the politics in the company, because everybody in our end would mainly agree that making promos right now, it's pretty much everything is illusion, or it won't stimulate what you're doing in the same way that it used to be. So you need to be very careful. But the challenge here is that you cannot say your CCO or your CEO, we're gonna stay with the fares and just see what happens, because that's not an option. So it was kind of hard at the beginning. The market took it very well. Obviously, we actually got elasticities around 1. So we changed fares for passengers due to the ancillaries. It was actually a good decision. It's getting us results. It's not forever, and right now here is the second wave, so it has dropped a little bit the elasticity. So we're not quite sure that it's functioning very well. But I think that the main part here is that we saw dramatically changes into the market, and so with this environment so hard, we needed to take a dramatic decision. I mean, hard times need you to make different decisions. And I really think outsourcing the RM into guys that would know what they're doing and just will give you results right now. Because right now, Viva, especially and low cost, I think around the world, we're not trying, and this is going to be kind of hard, but we're not trying to build our teams and to make the best out of our management. We're in wartime, and we needed the best soldiers we can get at that time, and those were people that actually has been growing in the market or in the industry. They knew what they needed to do. They knew the system. They knew exactly what we're doing. So we spend more time making strategical decisions than making tactical decisions into RM, and that was an actual very good thing here in Viva. We're quite happy with that decision, and it led us, me and the other guys from the commercial team, actually rest in TARMAC and just make different decisions, especially network plannings, because that has been the greatest change ever. We passed from 15 points of market share before pandemic to 25. So we took 10 points. That means very agile, being very agile, being very quick in your decisions. And I'm pretty sure with the team that we had before, or building our team and with the new guys, we wouldn't be able to take as much as risk as we took in this last 5 months of making this third-party alliance with TARMAC. So I think I'm quite happy with the decisions, and actually it has been working because our new guys are being trained by TARMAC. So it's a one-on-one training on revenue management in short groups, in small teams, where time is it's a thing that nobody has right now. We're making airlines are making more with less. I don't know how that happened. I thought that couldn't be possible, but it is. And right now, I think we're quite happy with what is going on. Actually, it has been a question here in Viva if we need to outsource some more teams for a little while until this actually passes, because finding new people that wants to get into the industry right now is not an easy thing. So that's it for us.